Hi guys and good evening. It is the 3rd of August 2022, 5:20 p.m. London time. Very quick update for you today. We're just going to go through the Nasdaq, look at BTC and look at alts. Nasdaq is pressing forward as expected in the previous review. What we have done is now taken out the previous monthly's high. We have engulfed the previous monthly's candles, so we are bullish to neutral here. And on the weekly, we are now popping above this range high. The descending channel that I had posted for you as a marker to where we may reverse is around 3% away from our current prices. I look at the daily chart, and as of now, we don't see any slowing. But if I'm going to expect resistance, it's going to be in this area. Now, I haven't drawn the volume profile on this at all, but that is typically where I'm expecting resistance. You may be able to see an area of confluence here in general, but I am just using this line and this red line in order to judge the climate. So if we can hold above red, we're bullish, and back below red, we are bearish. The expectation for me, or at least what I see, is that if the market can sustain above this red line for 48 hours, the markets will close on Friday. If we close here, I think that the rest of crypto will run, and it will run for another leg up at minimum. Should we spill below this red line, well, it's pretty much game over for the local climate at least. If you look at S&P hasn't taken its highs and it's gearing up to do that, so that's what we're waiting for also. So if S&P takes its highs and then the Nasdaq is at the descending channel, that will be a market exit for me. In terms of altcoins, my idea on Ethereum has been pretty clear. So I don't think it's going to offer an easy short quite yet because of how strongly this is uptrending. If you were to look at this on a reverse kind of chart, you would expect the bottom to come in at around 1,882. Usually close to bottoms we receive chops, or choppy conditions, so I would expect the same to happen here. What I have predicted for now, and we can only react to the market, but what I have planned at least for now is I would be comfortable to take a short if I see this price angle changing. We get a spike up and then we get a strong failure beneath a local high, right, like this. So just typical distribution, general liquidity type settings. This carries over, of course, onto my total 3 and total 2 bias. So for total 3, it's a bit difficult because, as I presented in the last video, Matic and a few other market leaders just pumped straight through these highs. And there have been some alts that are doing so. But what I think is the closer we get to that Nasdaq region of interest and the closer S&P comes to taking that high, I think the lower the probability gets that we take these highs over here. So for alts in general, I'm thinking that if we get to this mid-range here, okay, which is, it's not really that significant in itself, I would just really mark out a new high, okay? So a new high over this previous high and into this kind of area where lots of volume has been previously transacted. I think that's a good place to bet for a top coming in for now. Certainly, this can continue up and completely rip up, right? That is not out of the box, because if you have to look at this on an inverted chart, it appears to me that total 3 is heading down, okay, into 468 billion. That's, it's reasonable. What I want to be doing is, if we're anywhere close to resistance and, for example, the markets close and on Monday we're still bullish and we're beneath this high, I'd like to take profit. Okay, at that point, if the markets pull back, they can pull back to here and perhaps they'll continue. So my thesis for alts in general is upside, okay, until the Nasdaq fails for at least another, I would say, 10 to 20% across the board, yeah? So, of course, this is total 3, but a 10% rise in this doesn't necessarily mean just a 10% rise in your favorite altcoin. So, correlate everything with those 3. Now, if you look at BTC, as I said, two things for BTC. Either we're going to range here, put in a weak high and then fall, or we're just going to continue as has continued previously, right? Gray, 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 red, 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 red. We're currently in a reclining period for BTC. I don't know how that will act. What we've just seen is the Nasdaq pump and then BTC do barely anything, right? It was moving well with it here. It's barely doing anything here. So it appears that crypto doesn't believe that the stock market is going to new highs, which is why this is currently underperforming. Now, as I said, as long as this low ascension doesn't break, everything is good, all right? Within the current climate, so if I just close this quickly, you would see that I put out a chart expecting these equal lows here to get taken out. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think something like this is a possibility. Yeah, where we range in this local climate for a little while and then perhaps take that high. But I'm not sure how it's going to take effect. All I know is that, you know, the previous week's range was large and we have supply at the overhead and some demand on the underhead. I think that's going to take some time for it to work itself out. Yeah. So at best for now, I've got a sloping trend line here and perhaps we can do something like this. Yeah. It's a bit unknown how this is going to materialize, but because we have supply and demand from both sides, I think this is going to range, especially given the local underperformance with BTC here. And what that basically means is my trade idea for BTC doesn't really qualify on a higher time frame for a while yet. What I want to see is this ascending structure fail, okay? And not just, you know, like if I draw a line here right now, that's where the ascending structure is. No, this is the key low here. This is the key low until we get a move that moves up from there, yeah? So I want to see a pivot that creates movement in the market. Then that will be the next most relevant pivot for me. And right now, this is the most relevant pivot. If we get something like this, okay, then fine, right? At that point, either we can short on a range high failure of context, or we get something like this. Is that clear? Should be clear. Where you form another higher low here, and then you puke below it. The closer the higher low is to the raid point, the better for me, okay? The better the risk and the more chance it's going lower for me. Lastly, the setups that I want to share with you today are the same setups that we've been discussing across the board. First one I think it's going to move is DOT, right? And I think DOT is going to move up to this supply area here. So hold on one second. Synonymous with the total 3 chart. If you see this area here, okay, I'm expecting DOT to move inside of it, which is around $10. At that point, I'm out for the time being. Okay, this could absolutely levitate further, and it will do so on the back of what? This .BTC chart. So you can see that I've marked out a fairly aggressive long here. But from the current prices, one impulse up is around 23%, right? 23% on the current DOT chart, given ranging conditions for BTC, is what? Yeah, about $10. So that is the general stance for the market for me for now. I think that's a great spot to long at the moment, personally. I think there's a very good chance of it moving up, but USDT pair first, I think. Then we've talked about Jasmy, which I've been very vocal about on the social sphere, just because of how much it's compressing and how ready it looks, at least to have one movement up. We have this typical setup that we've been proposing for the majority of the video. So we have the majority of the last 2 weeks with other coins, lower highs, breakout, retest, right? Broken market structure here. And I think we can finally look to break out based on the fact that I just got onto FTX and this is at completion and there are a lot of eyes watching this and it's listed on perps, right? So we've been through DOT, Jasmy, and just a few more to touch on, but these paradigms are very similar. One I've said I'm long on, but I haven't shared the exact trade with you is Gala. I've been accumulating Gala since this region, and I bought more at 5.6. In general, Gala will do what Gala wants to do. I'm not really sure how this is going to move from here. Because the BTC chart, yes, it has broken these local lower highs. Maybe we get a minor new high there. but I'm going to be watching this trend line. Can you see that? Yeah. So with Gala, I'm not too sure how far it goes, but I will likely be taking profit on the aggressiveness of the market at the weekend. Yeah, so I think there is a very good chance for us to move into this 837 region. If that's about 38% from where we are. If we look at the Gala chart, you know, that may not have accordance with this BTC pair. It may do, right? All right, so above that swing high is around 30%, and into this trend line is around 20%. So we're just gonna have to take it as it comes. This could be ready to move a cycle up, depending on which pair is leading. But this is up in the open for where I take profit for now. Are there any other charts we want to discuss? Well, I've talked about Mana that is setting up HNT, RSR, Holochain, and Doge. I've posted them in the Discord. There's not really much we need to talk about there. There is one more probability that I want to share with you before I let go of this, and that is that if BTC does do something like this, right? The closer we get to this lower high structure, the better risk to reward alts get. It's the opposite to what people think, yeah? So I want to be very clear about that. And I want to be very clear that I'm expecting us to range. You know, perhaps we don't even take this low, right? Perhaps we don't. But this is my range for now. Okay, and this is the range that I'm expecting to cause a ranging environment, okay? Something along the lines of this. Yeah, so if it was to follow this, something like this, right? It's a range between these two areas, and then upside to be decided by traditionals. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in today. Have a lovely day. Peace.